Thank you, folks, for joining. We got a little mini session here uh, where we can talk about the new exciting world of robotic process automation along with PeopleSoft. So I see there's a few participants, and I'm always open to questions and interaction. So feel free to ask questions as we go and raise your hand. Um, so anyhow, my name's Dan Canner. I'm with Newberry Enterprise Services, and Newberry. We've been doing PeopleSoft implementations. A lot of us have been doing this for about 25 years, and we are recently this year merged with Gideon Taylor. So we're a full service consulting firm, and we've combined with Gideon Taylor's eForms capabilities. So you can see here we've got a lot of different services we provide and eForms capabilities. And so one of the things here you'll see today, like we've got a robotic process automation practice and PeopleSoft practice, and there's more and more overlap we've seen. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
Oh,
Yeah, hello. Any questions? Okay. So since we just have a short period here, I'll kind of get right into the gist of it. I think a lot of people, right, you're aware of robotic process automation. There's some major vendors out there. We're a partner with UIPath, who's one of the leaders in the space, but you'll also hear companies like Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, Microsoft has the Power Automate product. So there's quite a few and many others out there. And you'll see this overlap of, of course, we've always been doing automation within PeopleSoft, but now how do you blend bots into the mix? And then there's even aspirations of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the nice thing is these robotic process automation tools are getting more and more machine learning capabilities. So you can kind of grow through this maturity curve here and keep improving automation. So real quick, just background. Hopefully, a lot of you already know about robotic process automation, or RPA. But basically, what it's doing is it's mimicking human actions on the computer, like using the user interface. And I know I've been working with this since the late 90s. We used to do SQA robot, or there's PeopleTools test framework, which is a little bit like it, where you're going through the user interface, mimicking the actions and trying to automate steps that the user would click. So it helps especially with these redundant tasks. And you can work through multiple systems. So often it's like a quicker way to create interfaces and to work with files and folder movements and maybe optical character recognition, different forms. You can call APIs and do logic. So it's pretty powerful, and it's usually kind of quick to use because you're going through the user interface, so you have a lot less bureaucracy with IT in terms of access to the back end and knowing the tables and technicalities. Right here, if you just know how to do it as a user, you can pretty much get in and get to work. And why is it different, right? So we've all been doing automation for a long time, and this is different because often it's faster, right? So we're able to just go in with these robot tools, and quickly you can do your design just by sitting with the users, looking at the process they're going through, go step by step through the clicks they're doing, and you kind of mimic their actions, and then boom, you just lay that down and start to work out the loops and the error handling. But there's a lot less design and technical work, right? It's just some simple understanding the steps, and you're off to the races. So that really speeds up the timeline of doing the development of a bot versus like if you're doing things in PeopleSoft, you often have to spend a little more time on the design and technical process. Some other things like a lot of these different robot products, there's varying levels, right? But they can be very reasonable costs. So there's some that you might already have embedded in licenses that you have. So you're already paying for them and not using them. We're seeing that more and more. So there's very little additional software costs that you have to invest in, and often it's just more of a cost in terms of the labor to build than it is for the software. So then, when you're thinking about what should I do with a robot versus other choices, once you've got some skill sets of people that know how to build robots, it's, a comparative of like, well, what's the time it takes to build a robot versus maybe to do a similar thing in PeopleSoft. So a good example, like a really popular use case, is just different interfaces. So you're like, oh, to build an interface, you often have to know both sides, the technicality of the two systems you're working with, and how to deal with that. Another nice thing about using robots is that you don't have to disrupt the underlying system, right? You're not going in and doing customizations. So you're basically a bolt-on. So one of the big things, right, is that people like you're just working and layering a bot on top. So it's very friendly to your existing, and you encounter less resistance from IT often. The other big thing, right, is because more and more you see software as a service out there, like so many organizations now will have a patchwork of many different software as a service systems, and you've got a wide variety of integration capabilities, or even capabilities in software as a service of what it can do. So to have like a robot that could go in, if you've got some software as a service that either doesn't provide an integration point or doesn't provide a feature, and you're having users manually do this function, well, once you know the logic, you can just lay the bot on top. So you don't have to coordinate with your providers, right? As far as they're concerned, it's just another user. And because of that, right, you're able to do more with business people, and basically what we see is you primarily have like a business analyst or a business person that knows the logic, and then somebody that knows how to develop the automation with the robot process automation tool. So that part usually takes a little bit more of a technical kind of programmer skill, but it's a lot lighter weight. And one of the last things, right, is its scalability and ability to adapt to constantly changing softwares and best of breed situations. So those things are all really good reasons why bots are highly utilized. So here, since we deal a lot with UIPath is one we're partnered with, and PeopleSoft, a lot of our customers that have both, we're often debating, like you'll have a use case come up and go, oh, which tool should we use? And so it's not always clear cut. So we try take each case by case and think through the situation. Because even though some situations you surely could do it with PeopleSoft and PeopleTools, but now with a robotic tool and maybe a new team, you'll have a little bit more of a dilemma. So what we'll see is often there might be like a center of excellence or a department where you've got robotic process automation team and developers with that skill, and you've got your PeopleSoft team and their skills, and they're often running in parallel, and sometimes they can be competitive, which can be a good thing, right? It leads to better outcomes from the business. So we've seen business people like having the options. So on the left, we're like, well, when do we use UIPath or RPA? So, a lot of times we're doing integrations, and the system we're integrating with, there maybe just isn't any API. They don't have an offering that's going to get you the data you need, or maybe there's just some kind of security restraints from it. So you're not able to kind of do the behind the scenes integration point where traditionally PeopleSoft would have been great. So then you say, okay, well, a lot of times we're seeing this concept, people say, of a swivel chair interface, where a person is sitting there and manually typing in one system and another system, right? So that's just a human, and you just look at what they're doing and try to have the robot do that integration instead of it being manual. So you see a lot of wins there. Next, like I was mentioning, just software as a service, more and more. The name of the game usually there is, they don't want to customize. You get what they give you, and if it doesn't fit their service, you're usually either doing something outside or manual. You're often out of luck. So we've often had things where the bots can go in and overcome that. And another scenario is maybe just mass change events. We've had many times where a software as a service product, a business thing has changed. So maybe underlying circumstances change where they've got to do mass updates of data, and the software as a service just doesn't have that. And we've had cases where the people were like, kind of miserable because they thought they were going to have to do a lot of overtime and weekends to do these changes. And we've come in kind of as a savior with say, hey, a robot can do that. Just give us like an Excel list of what you need changed, and we'll just have the robot go in and do it. And usually it's not hard to get a good return on investment in those scenarios. And we've even had circumstances where it only took us a day to get the bot ready to do what might have taken several days of manual work. There can be other circumstances where PeopleSoft just doesn't have the capabilities. Something, the machine learning now is something that's kind of interesting. Like a really classic use case now is with looking at incoming files, like an invoice coming into your AP department, or a purchase order coming into your customer service department. So there's these files that for decades, right, we've been struggling on how do you read these files that have a wide variety of formats and load them into the system. And there's still a lot of manual work there. So like UIPath, for example, has a machine learning tool called Document Understanding that's got a model that can dynamically read invoices or purchase orders or expense receipts, and they keep building more and more machine learning models there. So that's pretty exciting to have that kind of capability then, so you don't have to do more of the old school methods of kind of building your own mapping models. Lastly, like maybe you just, hey, I know we could do some things with PeopleSoft, but if you do it with a robot, now it's totally outside of PeopleSoft and less of a hassle for your upgrades. Then the other thing to consider is when should you use PeopleSoft and not a robot? Well, basically there's times where hey, we're just doing something that's 100% in PeopleSoft. And so, just go ahead and do it using PeopleTools. The other thing is robots are probably going to be slower than a back-end process. So we've had some things. There was an interesting case where we were doing credit and rebills, and so they wanted the robot team to build that. So we went and did it, but it's slower because it's just using the online pages versus if you had like an application engine or some PeopleTools program that's hitting the database is just going to perform at a higher speed. So if we have scenarios with high volume and speed is needed, we're going to maybe avoid the robots. The next thing could be your team strength and availability. And this, frankly, often becomes one of the big ones. Is we've got some clients where they're perfectly capable of doing it in PeopleSoft, but their PeopleSoft development team already is their queue is too long. They've got no time to do this new development. Maybe it's not high enough priority. So the robot team can tackle some of the lower priority things that are quicker wins for business. And it's just a matter of your availability of skills and resources. And then the last thing, PeopleSoft, as you guys probably have seen in RECONNECT, is just better and better now with doing things that don't require customizations, right? So with all these different frameworks like event mapping and drop zones, et cetera, if you can use those, we'll go ahead and use those PeopleSoft frameworks where you can get this done and it doesn't impact your updates in the future. So that's my quick spiel on this. Let me see if there's any questions out there.
This is Gina from Travelers. I do have a question in regards to an alternative to PTF. Yeah. Our organization is highly customized and specifically for the general ledger. I was wondering what you might suggest as a scripting tool.
Yeah, so there's so again, like UiPath, where we're a partner, they actually have, I call it like a 2-for-1. So they have the robotic process automation that you'd use to basically in production automate a process, but they also have a testing suite. So you could take those same scripts basically and leverage them for automated testing. And so then you'll be able to run, the process, see if anything errors. They've got, a test manager that shows test fail, what the error happened, right? To just try to automate your test scripts. And,
is that something that functional users are easily able to use?
So the functional users would be able to, execute the tests, right? Like start them off and review the results. You'd want, more of a technical developer to build the scripts. Right. So this is it's an alternative to PeopleSoft test framework, right? So PeopleSoft test framework can do a lot of the same, and PeopleSoft test framework, right? The dilemma is, well, it's free, it's embedded in your PeopleTools, right. But do you have the skills? Are you going to invest in the skills and the time to build PeopleSoft test framework scripts? And some companies, the dilemma is, if you've got the ability and the team that can do that, or if you want to outsource and invest in that, great. And if you do have the volume to make it worthwhile to do it in PeopleSoft test framework versus now with UiPath, and there's others, right? There's always been like Hewlett Packard and IBM and a few others have some test scripting tools. Not to mention there's a really popular one called Selenium that's open source. So there's many out there. And the thing you consider is like just more and more when you have a lot of different software and integration points, maybe you want to consider something outside of PeopleTools. So that's where we've been seeing UiPath gain a lot of traction because it's like, here's a generic tool that you can automate and do testing script in any software and in your software as a service tools, which are, becoming more and more prevalent.
And it is interactive with custom pages and
Yeah.
customizations within those pages.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. And so that's like one of the things with robots, right? It's almost you get what you pay for. The top line, are a little more expensive enterprise level vendors are going to have the best tools that can interact with a variety of web pages and complex, HTML and buttons, and then we've tried some other ones and you go, wow, it can't understand, it fails to recognize more complex pages. Yeah. So that is a thing we've noticed, like there's a pretty small number of high quality robots.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's all the time we got today for this mini session, but thank you everybody for joining in and listening.